Andrew, you gotta come over here. I think monkey's got in your tent.
Monkey's got in my tent, but I zipped it up.
And they figured out a way to unzip it. Here's all your stuff.
Toiletries. Well, what do you know? They figured out how to unzip a tent.
It's early evening at Mana Pools in northern Zimbabwe, and the 21st day of my expedition in search of close animal encounters in southern Africa. And baboons have raided my tent.
These weren't monkeys, these were baboons. I don't think they defecated in here. They haven't used my iPad and run the battery down, which is good.
You tried to bite on it, they didn't like it. They tried to bite through your toothpaste too.
Did they try and bite through it?
Yeah, I've got
Have a look.
teeth marks.
Teeth marks. The moral of the story is, shoot all baboons.
He's right here.
Now, tell me something. He agrees. The hippo agrees with me. He heard me talking about how terrible baboons are. Even the hippos don't like them.
We didn't even script that.
No.
He just agreed.
And I didn't even lay the sound effect in there. It just happened.
My name is Andrew St Pierre White. Join me as I build four-wheel trucks and travel to the remotest parts of the world.
I'm a prisoner of this hill.
I think the hippo, we have a hippo that's going to come visit us. He's coming this way, he's getting closer, which could be good. We could get a good shot of a hippo.
Whereabouts is he?
He's out, he's just 20 yards off the bank of the river. He's just went under. Hopefully he comes and says hello.
Really? Because if he comes this way, we have to go that way.
That's true. Get a nice picture though, while we're moving away.
Maybe we need a brighter torch.
I think we need the sun.
It's time for the sun. The sun. This is Nightcore Tiny Monster 16 GT. It's so bright it has a recoil when you turn it on. You've got to brace yourself. See? Watch. Look at that. There you go. See? I'll do it again. Pretty good, eh?
We've spent the day in virtual isolation. Even though it's high season, Mana Pools is almost empty. The animals around our unfenced campsite are feeling jittery. I'm not surprised. I now need to go to the ablution block. I'll carry a torch, and I am sure I will be watched every step I take.
I was walking to the ablution block, and I'm looking at all the eyes looking back at me. Mostly impala. At least I hope they're impala. I'm a little bit nervous as I'm walking. They're very jittery. There are a lot of hyena around, so maybe that's why. Some scat, freshly laid. A distant rumble of an elephant. There's an animal over there that I don't know what it is. And I think it's a hyena. Behind those trees. So walking back through the darkness, armed only with a Sony A7 III and a 90mm 2.8 lens. Just looking for eyes, really. That's what I'm doing. And not
Not seeing any. We had hyena last night around the tent, and expecting the same tonight. Let me recap where I've been over the last 3 weeks. Windhoek, Namibia, Central Kalahari Game Reserve, Botswana, Makadikadi Pans Game Reserve, Botswana, Naipan National Park and Baines Baobabs, Botswana, the town of Maun, Marimi Game Reserve, Botswana, Savuti, Southern Chobe National Park, Botswana, Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, Chisarewa and Matusadona in Zimbabwe, that's the road south of Lake Kariba, then Kariba town, and then on Lake Kariba to Palm Island, back to Kariba town, and now still in Zimbabwe but on the Zambezi River at a place called Mana Pools. Mana is a local word for meaning number 4. There are 4 distinct pools where game is found in the area, hence the name. That's quite a ride, that's quite a trip. I'm not quite finished yet. Jeramey and I, having left Paul and Joe to do their own excursion through southern Zambia, continue our search for game encounters by our drive through central Zimbabwe. The route will take us to Gweru, then across to Zimbabwe's second largest town, Bulawayo, and northwards quite close to where we entered the country, to our destination, Hwange National Park. But there are some distractions along the way.
That's amazing. One of the joys of traveling anywhere really is to come across things that are so unexpected, out of the blue. Chigutu, the town of Chigutu in Zimbabwe. 2 fuselages from what I believe are Vickers Viscount aircraft, and the largest bottle of Coke I've ever seen. Suddenly I'm thirsty. Given when the Viscount was in active service, these aircraft have probably been sitting here for no less than 50 years. We are in the town of Gweru in Zimbabwe on our route to Hwange National Park. This is a wonderful, we're staying in a little hotel. Regency, very grandiose name for a very plain hotel, but what is interesting about this place is a fascinating trip back into the past by about 40 years. This is Zimbabwe's own beer called Zambezi. Not bad at all. Economic development in Zimbabwe has been so slow that places like this are lost in time.
They only have it here. So it's a weird experience because I hear in the background all the American commercials, and then every other commercial has a South African accent, and it's still normal TV, but everything completely changes when they're talking. It's weird. It's different.
The following day we are on our way to Hwange National Park, and we've had to stop because of elephants, a great herd of elephants crossing the road. Oh, well, they're gone now. Promise you they were there. Anyway, so our plan is 2 days in Hwange National Park to photograph elephants. Huge population of elephants in this area. I've been here before. Beautiful, beautiful bush. Hwange National Park campsite. And as you can see, virtually nobody in it. Again, we have the whole place virtually to ourselves. There are campers over there with a caravan, and that's about it. When coming in to Hwange, and we signed in, and I was looking at the vehicles that were around. No private vehicles at all. Only, and there were about 4 of them, game drive vehicles loading up with guests from the camps that surround Hwange. Where are all the campers? Where are all the people from South Africa that come up here? Used to come up here. They're not coming up here anymore. Okay, whoa. So nice spot, but I don't think you're going to be able to open your tent. Actually, you can. Come forward about and stop. The staff accommodation is over there. We can hear some singing, but it is Sunday, so that's okay. We're going to spend one night here. Main camp is probably the best place. It is the main camp for an administrative centre for the Hwange National Park. It's also a very, very good area for game viewing, better than the northern part of the park. So I remember, that is, from a few visits that I have had here before. So tomorrow we'll actually try the northern section. It's much more hilly. It's a different feel altogether.
After all that, we've decided that it's not the right spot. We have the entire campground to choose from.
Well, what I'm doing now is I'm setting up the campsite for some astral photography, taking advantage of the amazing African sky and these incredible trees. Just beautiful, beautiful trees. So that's what we're doing now, and that's why we're taking so much care in setting up this campsite. All in the cause of art. Well, there you go. How to move a tent and to make a hole in your finger at the same time. This is my take on Zimbabwe as it now stands for travellers 2018. It's a country trying to heal, but it's a country that is in the process of healing. In fact, in terms of tourism, it is so far healed that it's actually quite sad to see these places like Hwange National Park, main campsite, virtually empty of travellers.
With the afternoon light improving by the minute, Jeramey and I have got back in the Land Cruiser and will take a game drive to a popular waterhole that I know of. Photographing game from the confines of a vehicle can be tricky. In Hwange, one is not allowed to get out of one's car unless you're in a designated spot. Like this one. Throughout Hwange, there are hides such as here. The challenge is, though, to find one that has not been overwhelmed by tour groups.
This is the alternative way of looking at game in Africa, alternative to what we've been doing over the last few weeks. These are game drive vehicles operated by lodges, and people come from all over the world to see the splendours of Africa's wildlife from the back of trucks. And amazingly, watch this. This must be some of the cleanest air anywhere, and yet they're wearing masks. This is strange to me. This is the alternative, Jeramey. What do you reckon?
It's definitely an alternative. Thank you for everything else we've done. Turns out it's great for people watching here, though.
Thank you for pointing that out to me. Just took a picture of the guys on the thing with their masks. I really don't understand it. They obviously have their reasons, but I was just thinking that this is really clean air. I mean, we are miles from any city.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that's the alternative. Do you want to go up there and
Not really.
Not really. Yeah.
Everything we've seen has been fantastic, and this is like the really, really small version of that. I think that I love the parks. The parks are gorgeous, and this one is really, really pretty. But We've had such amazing wildlife. We spent the last 2 weeks on the road, thousands of Ks in the bush, and seen unbelievable animals. Probably my favorite part of that whole thing was that there weren't any people with us. It was us. And we got to enjoy them, and we did it from the water. We did it from Lake Kariba. We did it from all these places. And now I think about if I wanted to go tell my partner about when I want to bring my family here, the first place is not to take him to a really popular park. My first inclination is to take him somewhere they get to see things that nobody else does. It's a little snobby, I guess, but it's also, boy, it's amazing to explore this stuff and see it when you're by yourself. It changes the sound. I mean, the soundtrack changes. Everything changes.
Well, I tried.
So yeah, you've ruined me for main parks.
No, I'm talking to the camera here. I'm talking to the people here on YouTube. I tried. Last time I was here in 2012, and there were probably 150 to 200 elephants that came down, and it was magnificent. So here are a couple of clips from that scene, just so you don't feel completely left out. This is more of the alternative, with people looking at things that I'm not sure what they're looking at, or birders, of course, looking at tiny little brown jobs and trying to identify them, and and you have to live with them, be courteous, and, consider them, and not just overtake them and things like that. Even though we've got only 10 minutes to get back till they close the entrance to the Hwange main camp, so we kind of got a little bit of a stress on. Just trying to paint a picture of the alternative. Jeramey, I think you said something earlier, the soundtrack is different. But I don't want to discourage people from coming to Africa because you think the alternative is so much. It's all to do with expectations. If you raise your expectations, that you might get to be disappointed. Lower them and you won't be. But this is not typical because this is Sunday night. They've obviously come back from the football match and they're hyped up. So don't take this as typical of campsites in African parks. It's not. In fact, nothing is. It would be quieter, but there would be more people. This doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, good morning to you. This is Andrew and Jeramey's Camping Corner, and we're talking about equipment that we're using around our camp. I want to introduce two stories.
Welcome.
Let's make fun of camping gear.
You might find that other people like to talk about things in a positive light. We don't. We start every morning with cynicism and some critique that may or may not be helpful to you, but makes us feel a lot better. Case in point, let's talk clearly about this burner this morning.
Equipment makers often do some quite nice things. They have good ideas, but so rarely do they cross the finishing line with them. And, well, okay, here's one that once had crossed the finishing line and is now a quadriplegic with Alzheimer's. The Kadak cooker. This Kadak burner is unbelievably inefficient. It is staggeringly inefficient because all the heat so much of the heat just shoots out of the side.
We're going to do everything from now on in a 1960s American game show voice.
So we've been using we've just made a rudimentary thing out of tin foil to try and keep the heat in.
With us today
is Jeramey.
Jeramey.
And Andrew. Secondly, the flame control. While it isn't terrible, it's not good. So we can feel better about ourselves. If you want a small flame, and if you just want to cook something very slowly, Well, you can't, because if there's the slightest wind, and after all, this is an outside cooker, it blows it out.
Another episode of Lowered Expectations.
So, in effect, it's either on or off. Yeah, that's maybe what we call the show, Lowered Expectations. Secondly, this
It's getting better. Lowered Expectations. It's getting better.
is the old. It's beautifully designed for transporting sand from one campsite to another
Dun, 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 dun.
via your vehicle, because inside here there's a beautiful scoop. It's magnificent. 1/2 kilo of sand. Every time you put it down, it picks it up automatically, transports it, leaves half of it in your truck, and when you get to the new campsite, it deposits it onto the ground and collects some more for the next run.
Is this actually on?
Is it actually on? Yeah, it is on.
No, it's not. Jeez. It burned out. This piece of crap.
Secondly, why would you want to carry such a heavy item in your vehicle? Because such a heavy item inside a vehicle like an SUV, you have to strap it down. This is very dangerous in an accident.
It smells a lot like gas and not a lot like cooking.
So you have to buy straps and whatever to strap it down. If it's on a roof rack, you need to strap it down with a proper... We should do a thing about line matches. This is line matches. Line-made matches. You have to spend all the money on the bracketry. For what?
Our first question of the day. When was the K-deck burner invented? Andrew, go ahead.
1897.
Wrong! It was 1898, but you were very, very close. You get half a point for that one.
It is the most inefficient cooker in the world.
The wheel was invented right before that. And they made these in the same shape as the wheel.
Yes.
Clearly, that proves its existence.
And slightly heavier.
You would use these matches in a situation where life or death was on the line. And then you would find a box of unused matches next to a dead person.
Okay, I want to show you this. This is an egg. See this here? This is an egg container that protects your eggs when camping from being crushed. Good idea, right? Yes. Finishing line. Now, let's do a little bit of math. When buying eggs, as you know, they come in containers like this that contain 6 eggs. When designing an egg container, how big would you make it? Now, the makers of this particular egg container, I'd like you please to do some math. This contains 10. What am I going to do with the other 2 eggs? Did this not... Explain yourself, please.
This don't make no sense. You know what I mean?
All right, my idea is that the small canisters with small burners are far more efficient. So
Yes.
boiling water, you need something like a jet boil or the MRI reactor,
Yes.
which is the one I've got, which I love.
I do too. I have the same one.
Okay, it boils water. You can boil 2 cups of water in 1 minute, 60 seconds. 2 cups of water for tea, 60 seconds. That...
It was 8 minutes this morning.
8 minutes.
To get to boil for
Okay.
2 cups of water in a kettle.
1 minute. Okay, so 1/8. The idea of smaller disposable containers, cartridges, that you'd have no big heavy object to worry about when packing. You just pack it with all your other stuff. No special brackets, and far safer. Now you can get these square, pretty cheap Chinese burners that have the cartridge that slides in,
Yeah.
and they're not bad. They're really not bad at all. And the burners are a much better quality, generally speaking, than those K-deck burners. So they give a much better, lower flame. In terms of a 2-plate burner, I've only found one. There are more in the US and various other countries, but in South Africa, where these K-decks are made, the choice is limited. There is a choice, but the choice is limited. So I use the partner steel stove, but that I think is the creme de la creme. That is
Yeah, it's nice.
okay, and you can only get them in the States.
We love that. We love that stuff.
Yeah, because it has a windbreak and it's beautifully controllable,
Yeah.
and it's just so nice to use.
So why is controllable a big deal?
You're the chef.
But the reason why this control is so nice is you can't cook everything at the same heat. If you go to a stove and you get the classic stove from 1971 and you turn it on, it's on. If you turn it off, if you turn it even down a little bit, it'll go out. You got to get your lighter out and get your matches out again. So the reason it's a big deal is because you have to cook more than one thing. High heat is good for some things. You cook a lot of things on medium, and then you need to simmer rice for the campfire, or you need to simmer meat or a soup or something. I've found very few stoves that will actually let you control the flame. So if I'm looking for something, I actually want to light it, have somebody show me, and see how far I can turn it down before it shuts off and how far it'll go up, and see how efficient it is. That's why I want control on the flame. So finding one that is not as easy. I like the small ones for control. The stoves, though, harder to find, and the partner steel one is magic. I mean, it really, really is nice.
Good. Thank you for solving our problem.
I do what I can.
In the next episode, we see some stars. We meet a very kind man
I'm going to give you some firewood.
who helps us with the best campsite I've ever had. Hey, click the Patreon button. See what happens.